House on Redwood Lane. The old house on Redwood Lane had stood abandoned for nearly 3 decades, a forgotten relic of a bygone era. Its once grand Victorian architecture had succumbed to the ravages of time, with ivy crawling up its walls and broken windows gaping like dark, hollow eyes. Local children dared each other to approach it, but none had ever been brave enough to venture inside until tonight. Michael, a high school senior, had always been fascinated by the stories surrounding the house. Tales of mysterious disappearances and ghostly apparitions had piqued his curiosity. Determined to uncover the truth, he convinced his best friends, Sarah and Tom, to join him in exploring the house. The trio arrived at the house just after sunset. The air was thick with the scent of decay, and the wind whispered through the trees, creating an eerie soundtrack to their adventure. Michael pushed open the creaking gate, and they made their way up the overgrown path to the front door. "Are you sure about this?" Sarah asked, her voice trembling slightly. "Yeah, we've come this far. Let's see what's inside," Michael replied, his excitement barely masking his own apprehension. Tom remained silent, his eyes darting nervously around the property. With a final glance at his friends, Michael turned the rusted doorknob and pushed the door open. The hinges groaned in protest, and a musty odor wafted out, assaulting their senses. The interior was shrouded in darkness, save for the faint light from their flashlights. The foyer was filled with dust-covered furniture, and cobwebs hung from the ceiling like ghostly curtains. They cautiously made their way through the house, their footsteps echoing on the wooden floorboards. "Let's check out the basement," Michael suggested, spotting a door at the end of the hallway. "Are you crazy?" Tom whispered harshly. "That's where all the bad stuff happens in movies." "It's just a basement," Michael said with a shrug. "Come on, let's go." Reluctantly, Tom and Sarah followed Michael down the narrow stairs. The air grew colder as they descended, and an oppressive silence enveloped them. At the bottom, they found themselves in a large, unfinished basement. The walls were lined with shelves filled with dusty jars and old tools. As they explored, Sarah noticed a large, ornate mirror leaning against one wall. Its surface was covered in grime, but she felt drawn to it. She wiped away some of the dirt, revealing a tarnished but still reflective surface. "Hey, look at this," she called out. Michael and Tom joined her, their flashlights illuminating the mirror. As they stood there, their reflections seemed to waver and distort. "That's creepy," Tom muttered, stepping back. Suddenly, the lights in their flashlights flickered, casting erratic shadows across the room. The air grew colder still, and an inexplicable sense of dread washed over them. "Let's get out of here," Sarah said, her voice shaking. Before they could move, the mirror began to emit a faint, eerie glow. Their reflections twisted and contorted into grotesque shapes, mouths opening in silent screams. The basement filled with a low, guttural growl, and the temperature plummeted further. Panicking, they turned to run back up the stairs, but the door at the top slammed shut with a deafening bang. They pounded on it, screaming for help, but it refused to budge. "What the hell is happening?" Tom shouted, his voice edged with hysteria. "I don't know. Just keep trying," Michael yelled back, his own fear rising. As they struggled with the door, a figure emerged from the shadows of the basement. It was a tall, gaunt man with hollow eyes and a twisted grin. His clothes were tattered, and his skin had an unnatural pallor. "Welcome," he rasped, his voice like nails on a chalkboard. "I've been waiting for you." The friends backed away, their hearts pounding in their chests. "Who are you?" Michael demanded, trying to sound brave. "I am the keeper of this house," the figure replied. "And you trespassers have awakened me. Let us go, Sarah pleaded, tears streaming down her face. The man laughed, a sound that echoed around the basement. You cannot leave. Not now. Not ever. With that, the basement seemed to come alive. Shadows writhed and twisted, and the growling grew louder. The friends huddled together, their backs against the cold, damp wall. The man raised a hand, and the mirror's glow intensified. From its surface, ghostly figures began to emerge, their faces contorted with anguish and rage. They reached out with skeletal hands, grasping for the intruders. Michael, Sarah, and Tom fought desperately, but the ghostly hands were relentless. One by one, they were dragged towards the mirror, their screams echoing in the confined space. As they were pulled into the glass, the basement fell silent once more. The next morning, the house on Redwood Lane stood, as it always had, silent and foreboding. No trace of the three friends remained, and the stories of mysterious disappearances continued to grow. The house had claimed more victims, and its dark secrets remained hidden, waiting for the next curious souls to uncover them. And so the old house on Redwood Lane remained, a silent sentinel of horror ready to ensnare anyone foolish enough to venture within its decaying walls. Don't forget to subscribe, and let's make this adventure even more incredible together.